This month we are learning to turn Grecian columns through the making of a fern stand, which has a Doric column as its central support. Turning Grecian columns is actually quite easy. The biggest problem generally is getting an appropriate sized billet of wood. For most functional Grecian columns are at least 4 inches in diameter. Ours is 4.5. I've turned it partially round here just to give you an idea of the scale of it. Continuing, we're now just going to turn this to 4.5 inches end to end. Now that we have our blank basically round, we're going to take a distance of 1/3 of the column. We're going to get this to a nice constant diameter from here on down, turning with a sharp roughing out gouge and always watching the horizon right there, because that allows me to gauge straightness. Generally, with a skew, it's best to raise your rest a little. It's okay to move it now that it's round with the lathe running. So I've got it up, so I'm going to have my rest right there where I can see it well, and I'm just going to slide along like that. Now that we've turned the bottom third of it to a nice smooth finish, we're going to start establishing the taper. Now, Greek columns do not go straight from the narrowing point to the capital. It is not a straight line. It's actually a slight bulge called an entasis taper. That taper corrects our visual perspective as we look up at the column. A straight taper will actually look concave to our eye, where the entasis looks correct. And from afar, it looks better as well. So we're going to now establish the capital dimension of 5 3/4 inches. And I'm going to do that with a beating and parting tool and a big set of calipers. There isn't a heck of a lot of taper in a Grecian column. It is rather deceiving, but it's enough to make it look quite a bit better. We also have to establish a little molding that goes around the column called an astracal. And so we'll lay that out now, for if you forget to do this, you can't add wood back later. And there, this will be the astracal. In this small area between the astracal and the capital is called the necking. And we'll just start now removing wood, kind of watching with our eye to try to keep this convex. In the parallel article to this video, I give all the dimensions and I give instructions how you can lay this entasis taper out on a piece of paper and get dimensions to set calipers to as you go. And for your first column, that isn't a bad idea. But after you turn a few of these, you can just sort of turn them by eye. We're just going to start moving wood out of here to create that entasis taper. The biggest problem when you first do this is not to exaggerate this taper too much. And now this is skew work. I'm just going to run a skew all the way down through here. Now it's very important that the diameter be the same on both sides of the astracal. It's now time to cut the astracal, which is really just a shouldered bead. We're going to turn a 1/2 inch bead right in the middle of this and leave a shoulder on each side that's just proud of the actual column. So laying out the bead, center those dividers like that, and I'll take the beating and parting tool again and just bring that shoulder right down till it's about 1/8 off of the actual column. Again, they want to be the same height on both sides. That's too high at the moment, so we're going to bring the height down a little. Now we can get out the spindle gouge and just cut a real nice bead right around like that. When you do large architectural turning like this, your tools have to necessarily get quite a bit larger. You're fine with a half-inch spindle gouge for most of this kind of work, but your skew, as you start to get really big columns, like a foot in diameter, you start needing about a 1.5 inch to 2 inch wide skew. And they don't even make them anymore. They used to years ago, but you generally have to find a blank of steel and make one yourself today for that kind of work. There's our astragal, and now we'll turn the capital, and we're going to turn a little molded edge like this. There we go. It's all just coves and beads. If you can cut a cove and a bead, you can turn anything. And there is our finished column. I might add that I didn't bore you with a lot of the turning. That was just procedure. But in real time, this column only took me about 15 minutes to turn. Give Grecian columns a try. They really add timeless beauty to your work.